This is a video for section 10.8, equations of circles. And this is the last section of chapter 10. Woohoo! Okay, so the equation of a circle is this right here. What I want to bring to your attention is that this formula has a negative sign in it. So when we find the circle, it's going to look like it has the opposite signs. Let's go ahead and do this one. The center of this circle is 0, 0. The radius is always going to be this number right here, 1, 2, 3. You can count to the side or up and down. It would be the same number. So 3. And therefore, the equation would be, we just substitute in the value. So on your homework, please substitute in the value. So it'd be open parentheses x minus 0, because that's the x value. The x goes with the x. Squared plus open parentheses y minus is part of the formula, don't forget. 0 is the other y value squared. And that's equal to the radius squared. So I'm going to write 3 squared. So this is how I would like for you to do it in the homework. Please write 3 squared, even though you could do it in your head. The equation is x squared plus y squared is equal to 9. That final equation. Well, we don't need to write minus 0. So that's why we don't have to write it on the final equation. Let's take a look inside. So don't forget, the formula was open parentheses x minus h, close those parentheses, plus y minus k squared, and that's equal to the radius squared. So we're going to plug it in first. Open parentheses x minus 2, minus is part of the formula, 2 is the value, squared, plus y minus 3 squared is equal to the radius 4 squared. When you simplify that, you can just rewrite the rest of it. Like I mentioned before, this is how I would like for you to do the homework, plug it in, and then simplify. So for the next one, it would be open parentheses x minus, part of the formula. Negative 1 is the value of x. Y minus is part of the formula. Negative 4 is the y value. And it's 2 squared. When we clean this up, it looks like it has the opposite sign. So when we go in reverse and they give us an equation, we know that it will always be the opposite. So it would be y plus 4 is equal to 4. And then if we're going in reverse, it will always be the square root. Let's do the next one. Plug in the values first. And then simplify. We don't need a minus 0, so we can just leave it as x squared. So when we're working in reverse, when we see it like this, we know that the 0 would be part of the center. And then minus a negative is positive. 3 squared is 9. All right, so for these, I'm going to call this circle A. So for A, we have the center is 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 4. And the radius, we can just count, would be 1. Plug it into the formula first. X squared minus negative 4 squared plus y minus negative 4 squared is equal to 1 squared. When we simplify that out, that just looks like we switch the signs. And 1 squared is 1. Let's call this one B. So for circle B, we have the center is 1, 2, 1. The radius is 1, 2. We're going to substitute in the values. And then simplify the equation. X minus 2 squared plus y minus 1 squared is equal to 4. And then the last one, let's call this C. For C, oh, this one was B, sorry about that. For C, the center is 0, -1. The radius is 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to substitute in the values first. Minus, sorry, I wrote this wrong. Open parentheses first, y minus -1 squared is equal to 4 squared. When you simplify that out, it looks like x squared plus y plus 1, because it looks like the opposite sign, is equal to 16. All right, let's go in reverse. Graphing the circle or identifying the center and the radius. This is how I would like for you to do it on your homework. Please always identify the center and then the radius. So the center, remember, looks like it has the opposite sign. That minus sign is part of the equation. So 2, it's its x value, and -1, it's its y value. The radius, like I mentioned, is the square root of what's in the formula, because you had to square it, remember? So that means that the radius is 3. Let's go ahead and graph it. We have 2, -1 as the center. 3 is a radius, and you'll go 1, 2, 3 to the right, 3 to the left, 3 down, and 3 up. From here, what I tend to do is just do one arc at a time. If you rotate your paper, it's a little bit easier. To make the circle. Okay, so on your homework assignment, you're going to be given an equation, and make sure that you always write the center for me. So it looks like it has the opposite sign, -3, 1. And the radius is always the square root of the number given, which in this case is 1. Let's plot the center. -3, 1, 2, 3, 1. The radius is 1, so up 1 to the right 1, down 1 to the left 1. And then you just try to do your best to draw the circle. So how am I going to grade you? I'm going to grade you with the circle of the center of the circle and these points in all 4 corners. All right, let's try that again. So this one would be the center of 2. Remember here we always had to simplify it in it because we didn't need to write -0. That means that your y value is 0. The square root of the number given is the radius, which that makes it 2. 2, 0 is the center, up 2 to the right 2, down 2 to the left 2. And you just try to do your best to draw the circle. The center would be 0, 0 for this one, because you can't see the number in the parentheses. That means it had to be 0. The square root of the number given is the radius, which in this case is 5. So 0, 0, up 5, to the right 5, down 5, to the left 5. And this is where I would tell you that I rotate the paper so it's easier to draw, and you're just drawing one arc at a time. So it looks like a circle. The other thing I want to remind you of, and it's because of this problem right here, they gave you a center and a number, that, another point that it goes through. So in this case, it looks something like this, where they're just giving you a random number. We need this to find the radius. How would we find the radius? Is by the distance formula. So I'm going to remind you of the distance formula. And here I'm going to say that the radius is equal to the distance formula, which was x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So I'm going to mention this again. You will need the distance formula to find the radius, and that's why I called it r. From this point to this point is going to give you the radius of the circle.